What's going on, everybody? It's FREEDO here for your Overwatch. Big Daddy Jeff came down hard on all the kids that play Overwatch, myself included, of course. We are all just Big Daddy Jeff's children. In a developer update, Jeff Kaplan described the toxicity issue, Blizzard's plans on dealing with it, and gave a little bit of a John F. Kennedy-esque speech about the responsibilities of the community moving forward. It is not what your developer can do for your community. It is what your community can do for your community. Okay, I don't do accents, but you know what I mean. In the developer update, he laid down a bunch of stats as well as plans that they have to try to curb the toxicity issue in Overwatch, with the key takeaway being that if you're not a nice person, they don't want to relegate you into having like a different queue that other games sometimes do, put all the naughty boys and girls into their own queue so they can troll and be mean to each other. No, they want to take an even harsher stance, but obviously that hasn't been the case thus far, because up until recently, the way they dealt with things was having like a voice chat or text chat ban, basically silencing you, but still allowing you to play the game, meaning that you could enact all of your devious terror onto your team, whether that's like spamming "I need healing" forever or attack the objective. And you've seen these chat banned players, I'm sure. Surprising, even with the small amount of communication they do have, they still somehow find ways to be obnoxious and troublesome. Jeff Kaplan posted on the forums like forever ago that this developer update was recorded and we were planning on it coming sometime eventually right before Season 6 was going to go live, and it finally came today. And my guess is that they waited to make this developer update live in order to be prepared to draw a line in the sand. The line must be drawn here! Basically ushering in the new policy. Now, he didn't get into specifics on the gravity of the punishments, of how they're scaling up, but it's what we've been reporting on thus far, so I don't think anything's changing down that route. But I think it's safe to say that we're now in the next era of player reporting. The harsher system is here now. And the downside to all of this, of course, is that they've had to halt production on so many other things that we all want. I think we can probably all agree that this is where the resources should be going. Thus far, the game has just been too lenient on players, unfortunately, and it leaves the rest of us with a bad experience, because really, it only takes one player out of 12 to ruin a match for everybody. I do think it's interesting that Jeff Kaplan brings up that we all need to take a deep look inward, and upon reflection, something that talking to Emong, the pro player interviewed way back when, taught me about how he approaches matchmaking and things that he does in the game. A useful phrase is to say, what can I do to help, right? Because oftentimes I think everyone in games is just so tense to say anything to anybody, or even when something is like strategically constructive, it can be deemed as something negative because of prior negative experiences. I think we all need to chip in the art of communication, right? There's a time I remember distinctly where a team fight had ended. I'm playing Winston. I had like 5 HP, but I knew there was enemies nearby, so I had to hide in a corner because if I went out to go get a health pack, I would have died. My team eventually come back to the point, and I say very plainly, "Mercy, could you heal me?" And instantly, I like triggered PTSD flashbacks or something in this player, and they took it as if I was calling them out. And I'm like, what the heck? I'm just trying to play to win the game. If I have a particular weakness, it's not being able to speak in the most empathetic way because I'm just trying to win, and it gets misunderstood that like I'm attacking the person individually. But one thing that I think that I do well, though, is when players are trying to gang up on somebody else, I try to diffuse the situation and bring it back to it being a team thing. I'd like to live in a world where in Overwatch, nobody's afraid to use the mic, nobody's afraid to express their opinion, and we don't have an assumption of conflict when there's disagreement of those opinions. One thing that I really wish they would add is a tactical timeout. I know immediately when I suggest that, everyone's gonna be like, oh, people are just gonna use it to troll. I want the ability that when all 6 of your team is in spawn, you can go to the pause menu and request a timeout, and everyone hits a button to vote on whether they want to take the timeout, and you can pause the game for like a minute, because I think a lot of conflict in the game often comes from the hectic nature of Overwatch, and there really isn't any time to stop and think and discuss or deal with the stress of something that just happened or conflict between players. I think a lot of these things can be fixed with like a deep breath moment, if nothing else. Even not just to discuss, like, how do we deal with this sick enemy Widowmaker? Like, I often don't even have time to express myself to say, well, yeah, Winston's good against Widow, but we need the Reinhardt shield to be able to block the line of sight, because it isn't just about killing the Widow, it's about denying the angles. Like, I don't even have time to explain these things, right? And then before you know it, everyone's tilting at each other, blaming the Genji, blaming the Tracer, and fingers are pointing, and everyone just has a bad time. I don't know, maybe I'm crazy or overly optimistic, but I think that is the nature of what Overwatch is supposed to be, right? It's supposed to be an optimistic future, and like Jeff Kaplan said, that's what we want for the community. And I want to echo this sentiment from Jeff Kaplan. I'm going to myself try better to be constructive emotionally and work on my weaknesses as a player in the community, and I hope everyone else does too, because the report system can never fix this, really. It's something that we have to work out amongst ourselves as players. I mean, even Jeff said he said mean things on the internet, but his tone of voice is just so nice, I doubt anybody would take any offense to it anyway. Other than that, I did want to mention that he did hint that they're looking to develop things to reward good behavior, which sounds to me like a karma system, which I have wanted for a long time. But based upon how he's describing it, there's so many things that they want to be working on anyway, not even working on this in general, wanting to put a focus on content. But let me know if you agree with me, but I think I could go waiting a little bit longer for some content in order to get like a karma system in place, because then people would be a bit more incentivized to be cooperative, or at least you'd think so. In the developer update, he described that 480,000 accounts have had disciplinary action taken upon them, and with a little bit of math wizardry, if we divide that by the 30 million player numbers we know we at least have, it comes to about 1.5% of the community, which I don't know if that means it's big or small, not exactly sure. But of course, active player numbers are going to be different from that, so it's probably even a bigger percentage of active players. And probably most importantly, of those reports, about 70% of them have come from player reporting. So above all else, report players. Jeff didn't talk about this, but I'm sure it's important to report accurately, and I'd have to imagine that if you leave a little description about the type of report you're filling, it will have it carry more weight, because as they come in, I imagine that they might have like a list on a particular profile, and when it has enough to meet a threshold to be reviewed, then they pull that up and kind of scan through what the problems were. And especially if it's like the same type of action, you know, like if a player keeps jumping off the map, for instance, or bullies a teammate, or whatever the thing might be, you can see a recurring trend, and it'll build evidence of a case against that player to hasten the response that Blizzard could have. But I also think it's important to be accurate with these things as well. With great power comes great responsibility. I don't report players for something they didn't do if it's just bad teamwork. I'll leave it at that. If it's griefing, that's something different. But I actively use this system, and I suggest you do too. And especially with the new punishments rolling out now, I guess. There's been a slow rollout from the past few weeks, but with this video going live, I assume that means we're in it for real now. So hopefully, with any luck, we can start to clean up the streets of Overwatch and together help craft it to become the hopeful future that the lore of Overwatch portrays it to be. Be the change you want to see in the world. I think we can do it, guys. If you agree and you enjoyed the video, please leave a like. It really does help us out and lets us know that you're enjoying the content. If you haven't already, please subscribe because we upload each and every day, so you're going to want to hit the bell icon so that you get notified when our videos go live. Link in the description, you can check out our Twitter, where we tweet out news, updates, and dank memes. Also linked below, you can check out our Destiny 2 channel, so if you are a fellow Guardian, you are welcome to subscribe there as well. That's been it for me. I've been FREEDO for Your Overwatch. I'll see you guys next time.